Welcome back to Salute to Service as we recognize so many of our local veterans and Alton VFW Post 1308 as a whole on this very, symbolic of days. And Wayne Post Commander Wayne Abel joining us here. You know, we've talked to Bill Perkins already, Dave Stout, about, just that my generation sometimes may or may not understand the true meaning of
Memorial Day.
And I hate hearing the word celebrate because it's not. It's not a celebration. No. It's a reflection period, right. Especially for someone like yourself, sir, who served with these brave men, these brave women that gave their lives to protect our freedoms.
Right.
And today, as we're getting ready to conclude this, and no better way to end it but within the post commander himself. 3 months left in the term. Is that what you're saying?
19 days.
19. Oh, wow.
19 days. I'm down to days.
I was almost like Beethoven. I went deaf for a second. You were down to days. And before we go into Memorial Day and everything else, being post commander, you're working hard, and you're still, working a day-to-day career job on top of that.
Right.
As your term's coming to an end, reflect on these 3 years for me. How has it been being the post commander of the post?
It's been rewarding. It's been rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
You got to meet a lot of new people. You got to meet I like to work with other VFW posts. So I got to go out and meet with other VFW posts, and it was surprising how many other posts wanted to meet and greet and work with you. It used to be back in the 60s and the 70s, you never went and hung out with other post members.
Really?
You would go and have, an alcoholic beverage, or you'd sit there
right.
at their post, but you never worked with them on poppies. You never worked with them on a Veterans Day, or you never worked with them on a memorial service. Now we're all clinking together and working as one, so it makes it great.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I walked in one of the first times. We picture this. Hold on here. I'm walking into VFW because we were getting ready for the Veterans Day broadcast, right. And definitely one of the best experiences. We're going to do that again too, because that was just a fantastic ceremony in itself. But walking in to get the internet speeds and stuff, and there's Wayne and Angie and the crew, and we start talking wrestling, and we're and
old school wrestling.
Oh, the real wrestling, not this, some of the junk that's on television right now. But I shouldn't say that. Those wrestlers know where I park. But
there was no tables and ladders back in those days. No,
there wasn't. But on top of it, I'm walking in. You and Dustin and all those guys are sitting there going over things for the region.
Right.
And I'm going, this is camaraderie here. This is how you work together with organizations. Exactly. And you guys do a stellar job of it. And whoever takes the reins over after your term's up, hopefully they can continue the great work that's been laid out, for the past 3 years.
I hope he takes and exceeds from what I did. Mm-hmm. I really do. I want them to succeed, and I want the person who takes after them to succeed, because the post won't survive if we don't keep succeeding. So it was time for me to step down and let new, fresh minds be put in and new ideas be put in, and incorporate it with what I put into the project. So that's what I hope happens.
Absolutely. And do we know who's going to be taking over yet?
Yes, we do. 76-year-old Joe Macias.
Wow, that is really...
He's been waiting to take over the commander's job, and he wanted it last year, but he says, because of my health or whatever reason, I'm unable to do it. And he goes, can you do one more year for me? He goes, and I'll stay at your second in command. I said, I'll do one more year for you, Joe. And he's finally was able to step up and say, hey, I want to take over. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
Congratulations to Joe Macias on the appointment. That's great, and it seems like you're leaving it in great hands then.
I will be there to assist him, as the bylaws correctly state that I'm there to assist him and help him in all fashions. So I'll still be there to help him.
That's incredible. And of course, Quartermaster Chad doing amazing work too. And you guys, I was talking to somebody the other day about the post, and out of nowhere, we're sitting at Cat Daddy's, and I'm telling my, stories, not any good ones. And all of a sudden, someone goes, I've been watching you and all the folks you have on from VFW. And I said, well, thanks for watching, obviously. And they go, I did not realize how much they do in the community. I mean, we talked a little bit with Bill about the CID award,
right,
which I think is the most amazing thing I've heard of. And by the way, I got to see a picture of a young post commander Wayne Abel and Bill Perkins during the that was awesome to see. That was worth the price of admission.
No gray and had no glasses on. Yeah, I look good, younger.
And seriously, out of the
8 years.
8 years?
It's almost 8 years to the day we started that program.
That's remarkable. And I'm telling you, when Bill was taking me through this,
Right.
I mean, the hairs on my arms stood up.
Right.
Just that the monumental, task at hand for, especially with, the young individual that was losing their battle, and he was telling us how, dressed in blues outside of the waiting or the room.
I see you running. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, that's why what you guys do is invaluable. And that's why, you add on top of these rituals and these ceremonies and in a day like Memorial Day where you guys are out giving your service again to
and parades
to and not even, the public is far down the pipeline as I can put it, but remembering like we just talked about, your fellow, soldier, your fellow brother, sister in the military armed forces,
right,
that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And Wayne, after, kind of breaking the ice a little bit, what does Memorial Day, mean to you? What is the thought and reflection for Wayne Abel on a day like this?
It's remembering the guys that did before me.
Yeah.
They always said, and I take this quote personally, veterans never die unless they're forgotten.
Yep.
So as long as Memorial Day is there, there's just no forgetting them.
And speaking of that, you guys do a hell of a job, and I mean that, remembering the fallen from our communities and our surrounding communities better than anybody can do. And that's why they go, do you want to do a best of on Monday? I said, hell no. I want to give it to Alton VFW because they're the ones putting the work in while we're all enjoying a barbecue, while they're remembering and they're reflecting. And I think that's the big takeaway is, there's people that are hurting on Memorial Day.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Sometimes I think the parades take away from that, and it shouldn't, because, it's about that. And with that being said, what are some of the other, ceremonies and other events and programs that you guys put on Memorial Day?
Well, the first thing to do is we get up at around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. We put the flags around the post.
Wow.
So it's all decorated.
Yeah.
Now, then we go out. Now, you're talking 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to cemeteries where veterans are mostly laid, mostly like on Pearl Street where the Veterans Ceremonial.
Mm-hmm.
We go there, and then we go to the Civil War one that's on West Delmar. We go to the one in off of right there next to St. Anthony's, and then a couple other ones off of Memorial. And we have a 7-gun salute and a prayer at each one of those funerals. And to respect the Navy in a sort of way, we have the auxiliary makes a reef, and then we throw it into the Mississippi River.
Wow.
And then that's a story on its own, because if you ever sat at 7 o'clock in the morning on Memorial Day thinking you're going to sleep in, and you're next to a cemetery and you hear a 7-gun salute, you see those people jumping out of the houses and looking in through their windows and their doors.
Do they really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do. The first time I did it, we shot, our 7-gun salutes, three ballots. And this woman and this kid come flying out the front door, and the man was right behind them. They're thinking something's going on, and then they look, and then they see, and then they automatically stop and pray with us.
Now, that's incredible, actually. I think that's real. And now that was actually a perfect segue, Wayne, because I was going to ask you, we do have folks watching throughout the morning as you guys are
Right.
doing this. I promoted this that we've been taping ahead of time because there is no way in hell you guys are making it down here on Memorial Day Monday.
No.
And
I work harder on the holidays than I do on my
right. And so with that, if you're doing these, if someone's witnessing you guys putting on these tributes, is it okay for them to step out and say a prayer with you guys and
absolutely.
remember?
Usually, as a rule, if I can find little kids that are out there, especially if they're woken up because we scared them to death with the rifle, we'll take the blanks or the brass, and I'll give it to the little kids.
Now that's cool.
Yeah, just so they'll have something to remember. Hopefully, they remember that.
And I always wanted to ask this, and I didn't know how to. I've been thinking about ways all couple of days to ask this. When you're doing your day to day with being post commander and you're organizing these things, why still do it? You said you gave your time, you gave your family gave their time as you were overseas, defending our country, defending our rights, and here you are putting in, God dang man, more work than anyone really realizes. What's the reason for it?
If we don't have a post available for people, or not just the VFW, an American Legion, a DAV, AMVETS, all those different organizations, if we don't have those, then we have no place for these veterans to go.
Yeah.
And if we don't have any place for these veterans to go, then they have no knowledge of what they are able to get at the VA. Okay. I've always said that the reason the VFW is so large, that we have 1 million people. So we have 1 million members. We're allowed to talk to Congress for 8 hours. And I think I went over that Veterans Day. We're allowed to talk to congressmen for 8 hours, where the American Legion will have 1 million people, so they're only allowed to talk for 15 minutes. Well, in 15 minutes, you can basically get a handshake, how you doing, and they can get 1 point out, whatever it might be that their point needs to get out. If I got 8 hours, the VFW's got 8 hours, that's 8 hours that I can drill into a congressman on the floor, which means all the congressmen.
Right.
And we have good lawyers at the VFW, so they're fighting. So the burn pits, the blue water for the Vietnam veterans that are in the Navy, that they said that never existed. The VFW went in there and they fought for those guys. So the reason the VFW exists and the reason I do it is to make sure that these young veterans have what they need to have to survive the next 30, 40 years. Because the Korean and American World War II veterans and even some of the Vietnam veterans didn't know what they were, even me.
Yeah.
I just now got my disability, 10% disability, as a Desert Storm veteran, which was 30 years ago, because I didn't know I was entitled to that until I joined the VFW and got more knowledge. And if we can teach and give more knowledge to these people, especially veterans that are hurting, PTSD, no one knew what that was. No one knew what 22 was. Only veterans know what that is.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And without this, awareness campaign that you guys are doing, I mean, you're absolutely, there's a lot of things that probably wouldn't be done.
That's the reason why you'll see me out there working 3 years.
It's just incredible. And I mean that because, I mean, number one, we were speaking of the post office. You're never having any days off to begin with that job. I mean, you're always, and then you're coming in and carrying on a mission, and really in a time where you needed to adapt. I mean, your new technology in the VFW, just like everyone else, has to shift focus and figure out what's next for that next generation. And it really is seamless transition to where you're everywhere.
It sounds crazy, but I bet you couldn't find but about maybe 10 or 15 Vietnam veterans that could tell you what an app is.
You're absolutely right.
So now we have VFW apps, we have Facebooks, we got Instagram, TikToks, we got all kinds of, and I'm having to get this from my kids and the younger veterans because I have no ideas. My wife told me what a TikTok. She goes, "Hey, you got TikTok?" I go,
You're like, no, the clock's fine.
I got a grandpa clock. Got a cuckoo clock. But I ain't got no TikTok.
There you go. Well, and to me, that's what I think you had I mean, what you guys did to transition this and to make sure you're adapting, but still remembering the older veterans that are at the post still.
And bringing them into the new age, right?
I mean, that's tough.
And I had to do this during COVID.
Yeah. That's a whole nother aspect in itself too. And,
and keeping that post alive while we were closed was another interesting project. So, God put you where He needed you to put you, and He needed to put me there for those 3 years, and I did what the best I could.
Well, you did a hell of a job, and going to continue. That post is going to continue to keep doing a hell of a job.
To grow, yeah.
With that being said, I wanted to ask you something, if it's okay. I've always noticed, and we've always heard about the coins being placed on the tomb, and if you could give us some more insight on why that is the case.
Okay. The case is. And I couldn't tell you how far back it's went. I really couldn't. I know that if anybody can put a penny on a tombstone of a veteran, okay, family member, you could put one on there. If you didn't even know him, if you just went up to Pearl Street or Jefferson Barracks and you want to put a penny on a tombstone and say, "Hey, I recognize you," okay, you can do it. If you find a nickel on there, that means you served during boot camp with that individual. Wow. If you got a dime, that means you served, in my case, on the same ship with that individual, or the same brigade, or the same company, and the Marines have, or I don't even know what the Air Force has. They're 9-to-5 jobs. I'm not sure what they have, but they have something. But they're Air Wing. So whoever they served with, they would get a dime put on there. Now, if you served with them when they passed, you put a quarter on that tombstone, saying you were there with them.
And to me, I think that's really great information to know, because then we get to see, if we're out there observing and reflecting and praying, we get to see, who's still,
and absolutely.
And to me, I really think that's a great tribute to pay too. Even like you said, if we're just going through,
throw a penny on there. Say, "Hey, I appreciate what you did for us." Yeah, it's no big deal. Throw a penny on there.
And do you know why the denomination is the way it is, or is that just something that's
just worked its way up? Quarters got more value, I'm assuming.
Right.
So if you were there when they passed, when it happened. You know, if you were on the USS Arizona in December 7th, 1941, you know, a lot of those guys didn't get put in the graves. They stayed into the Arizona. But there are some. But the ones that survived, say the ones that survived or whatever, you know, you can put a dime on there saying, hey, I served on Arizona with this guy, you know. And if somehow or another they pulled that body out of that tomb and put him on a grave for whatever reason, and that guy was on the Arizona with them, and he survived. I think we only got one guy left from the Arizona that technically still alive. He could put a quarter on there and say, I served with this guy when he passed, you know.
Wow. That's just remarkable to me. And
it's a good education for those young kids, and not only just yourself, but I'm talking elementary kids. You know, we have to teach them the Pledge of Allegiance. Why we stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. We got to teach them why you don't take these coins. You know, you see a kid walk by and he sees coins on, oh, there's quarters for candy bars. You know, this is a good chance to educate them and explain to them why you don't take that quarter.
Well, and you're right, because I think, you know, and don't crucify me for this if you're a younger, you know, parent out there getting mad at me, but I think that sometimes our younger generation takes for granted some of the, and this is for my generation too, takes for granted some of these sacrifices that were paid, and it might be because, you know, time, it might be because certain things, but it starts at a young age. If we can instill education and we can tell our children, hey, this is why we get up and we say the Pledge of Allegiance. And, you know, for somebody that I was younger when it happened, but when my brother was over in Afghanistan, there's no bigger fear. I couldn't imagine what my mom, you know, all the ones that are old enough. And like you said, the families waiting at home, those thoughts, those fears, those anxieties, and I'm sure what you experienced over in conflict, I mean, we'll never understand that unless we go. And so to sit here and reflect and observe and remember and just be thankful for that somebody had the guts to go and put their life on the line and to defend, you know, our country is just something that we need to really take away every second of the day during Memorial Day and remember that and really hold that to be true. Well, and that's just my thought.
You have to remember that in Desert Storm, which I was served in 32 years ago, we were the first group to ever go into war voluntarily. There was never a draft.
Wow.
All the other wars where you were drafted in. World War I, they had a draft. World War II, they had a draft. Vietnam, Korea, they all had drafts. Now, those guys were willing to go. You know, you had the one or two guys that went and dodged up in Canada or wherever they went.
Right.
But for the most part, 99% of them guys, they took the oath and they left, you know. But Desert Storm, all the way until 9/11, and those guys, the problem is and it's no one's fault. It's everybody's fault. No one thinks about Pearl Harbor anymore.
No, true.
Because that was 80 years ago. So you're talking about great-great-grandkids now that are thinking, oh, wow, what happened in Pearl Harbor? You have to explain it to them. And those guys that aren't there anymore, like I say, there's only one guy from the USS Arizona still around that's 102 years old. He can only tell so many people.
Right.
But the good thing is, when these events happened, we stood up. When 9/11 and those Twin Towers went down, hundreds and hundreds of men and women jumped into the recruiting office and said, let's go, and took off. No questions asked. So that's a good thing, knowing that there's enough patriotics in this country that if something happens, they will take off and they will grab that flag and take off. They might not show it like they should or want to.
Yeah.
Or you might not recognize it because you only see the one person not doing it right. But how many people are doing it right? You go to a ballpark, and I always have one individual that wants to sit and talk. But out of that one individual, there's 1,000 of them sitting around doing it the right way.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't have said it better myself. You are absolutely right, and I completely agree with that. And with that being said, you know, we can sit here and talk, you know, wrestling, we could talk whatever you want to, but to me, I can't thank you enough, because I don't think our community realizes what the Post does for not only our veterans, but for all of us too. You know, each and every day of the week, we just don't recognize it sometimes. And to sit here and do a 2-hour show about just how important the Post is to our community, something I was very happy to do. Number one. But number two, I wanted to ask you, as we're wrapping up our conversation here, getting ready to wrap up the salute to service for this Memorial Day in 2000.
Leave time for Chad, huh?
No, we're ending with you. We're ending with you. Chad and Angie are going to kick off the show, and Wayne wrapping it up with us. But you know, as you're doing these memorials and you're doing these ceremonies, is there one that, I mean, I'm sure you hold all as equal importance, but is there one that when you started really hit home to you? Is it a parade, a grave, a salute? Is it is there one that just right away hits you, or does it all hit you the same?
No, they all hit me the same. They all hit me. Veterans Day hits me. Memorial Day hits me. Pearl Harbor Day hits me. We are now celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Korean War.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of hard for me to wrap my head around.
Right. 70 years since Korea has started and ended. So none of them, I don't take any of them lightly. I don't take any of them to any task. All of them are treated the same. I treat all of them the same. 9/11's treated the same. May 7th, if I'm correct. I want to say it's May 7th. I love that day more than any day. That's the day we took Osama bin Laden out.
Oh, yeah, Osama bin Laden. Right then, you're right, it was, because it was during a Cardinals-Phillies game, and I will never forget when
that day is a celebration for me because my Navy SEALs, Navy, not Marine, Navy, went in there, took the 2 helicopters, and we took out bin Laden. And we lost the helicopter, and they still demanded the task. And that's young veterans doing that. I'm proud of those young veterans. Now they're, well, that's 10, 12, well, so a little bit older, but they were young veterans back then. You know, they were in their 20s and 30s doing that. So, you know, they did an absolutely job. So I have no doubt in my mind that if something happens to this country, these young kids in high school and colleges will step up just like we did.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And that's the best way to say it, because you can sit here and listen to the guy that bitches and moans at a microphone, you know, every 9 to 11, but to hear it from you that, you know, you're working with the Post and all the work that you've done serving for our country, and to hear that, I mean, that gives me some hope. And now, as we wrap this up, Wayne, one final question for you. If a parent, grandparents watching this conversation or have been watching the entire Salute to Service broadcast, what's one thing that they could talk to their young ones about, their little ones about, to help them remember what Memorial Day is and what we do on a day like this Monday?
There's a lot of great programs. The Scouts are a good program. They believe in retiring the flag. They believe in the Pledge of Allegiance. So joining the Scouts is a great one. There's young poppy employees. There's young kids that young kids are on the poppies where they wear a little ascaf and have poppies on it. And they go around helping and help donate poppies and raise money for us. We have scholarship programs and essays at the VFW, just at the VFW.
Right.
We have auxiliary members. Like my wife is not a VFW member. She's a lifetime auxiliary member. So she supports the Post by being an auxiliary member. That is a big, big aspect. The reason I survived and did as well as I did for the 3 years wasn't just my Post members. It was my auxiliary that was standing there, stand by side. When we opened that kitchen, I had 6 women and men in that kitchen that were auxiliary members helping support it.
And that's incredible. I mean,
teamwork.
It really is. And it's what you guys do best, and it's what you're going to continue to do best for this community and for all the veterans and their families. And now, all right, one final real question for you.
Yes, the VFW. The only difference in the VFW flag and the other ones is the number on it. That's the only difference.
There you go. All right, one final question now. All right, one more. If you could step in the ring with any wrestler of all time, I only get to ask you this question as Post Commander once, so I got to make it good. Who would it be? And if it isn't somebody that's alive, who would your dream opponent be for them?
My ultimate wrestling guy that I would want to wrestle would be Tony Atlas, because because that is my idol. That's the guy I grew up watching. That's the guy I saw in the gym. I saw him, the bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And he had the move where he broke his arms like that, and he popped you right between the neck and watched your head raise like that. So I would want to wrestle him just out of respect of being the number one guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would love. I don't know. Trish would be a cool one to wrestle.
Oh,
too.
that would be.
But that's a whole nother subject. But I would love to see Tony Atlas just annihilate, just drill Triple H just for the fun of it.
Oh my God, yeah. Now that one would be good. And by the way,
I do like Triple H more now. I mean, he's married to Stephanie, and I do know, but when he was playing and he was always playing the bad guy, he did a really good job. So having Tony Atlas just power drive him to the ground would be fun.
You're absolutely right. And speaking of Tony Atlas, he looks bigger than he did 20 years ago. The guy's still working out and still looking good. And man, you're right. Triple H was a weird guy.
He played the villain part good.
He did.
He played the villain. So did Kurt Angle.
Oh, There is nobody
He's
better.
got that look that just makes you want to punch him in the face, don't he?
Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin were great that year when he was hurt, doing the comedy bits and the cowboy hats and you name it. But in all seriousness, Wayne, as we're wrapping up this broadcast, it's just around 10:55, 10:58, and Memorial Day Parade's getting ready to start.
Okay.
And with that being said, we'll see you out at the Memorial Day Parade if we aren't already there now. And thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for your service to our country. And thank you for your service to our community the last decades and the last 3 years especially. And thank you for the future service you're going to do for our community too.
Well, I appreciate that, and I have to thank you guys for helping us, because if y'all don't promote the VFW and get it out there on the air where these guys that don't come to the post understand what y'all are doing by advertising and promoting what the VFW understand, and letting us come in here and explain all the different things that we do. We've increased our membership since we started talking to you by about 20 people.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I like to hear that. Now, that's good.
Now, that's just at my post.
Yeah.
What have you done in the whole RiverBend area? I don't know, because I don't keep up with other posts, but I could call the other post commanders. But because y'all are letting us bring out the stuff that we do, letting you hear about the Patriot Pen, the Memorial Day, the Veterans Day, letting you hear about what we can do to help you in the VA, getting caught up with that. What we got with food pantries and stuff like that. Guys want to help and participate. Men and women, the veterans, they don't want to sit at the bars anymore. No. We have them at the bar. There's old guys sitting at the bar, and they can sit there for 6-7 hours. But the young guys, from me on down, I'm young now.
It's true.
We want to be out in the community. That's why you see us doing the CID program.
Yep.
That's why you will see me on a Sunday morning at a children's hospital doing that program. Wow. Being out in the community, letting the community know we're out there, and we want to make sure those little kids know we know what they did. They are just as much a warrior as I am.
That's just incredible. And one final thing, just because we have to, I want to thank Prairie State Gaming really quick for their support of the post and their support of Salute to Service and everything else.
I think you like their machines, don't you?
Well, I was on a winning streak, I'm not going to lie. I love their machines. The game room's great, but seriously, guys, without Prairie State Gaming, it'd be harder to do these things, and they make it possible. And a big shout-out to them, but also, Wayne, a big shout-out to you guys and your post.
And we have to thank Prairie State, too, because now, I did not know this, but we found out in the last 6 months, there was a reason why I was always hot and cold in the gaming room, that we had a broken valve or rod. So we got that fixed. Now in the wintertime, you will not freeze to death in the game room. And now in the summertime, in the next 3 to 4 months, you will not die of a heat stroke. We have air in there.
We have air!
And heat.
And I will have a jackpot coming soon. With that being said, Wayne, the best of luck as your term comes to an end. The best of luck in the future. We'll be talking next month with Post 1308 with Salute to Service, going back to the segment spot. But it was great to do this with you guys today.
CJ,
thank you so much for
privilege,
everything.
brother.
On that note, you guys have a very reflective Memorial Day.
Thank you.
And honor those that served and paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I'll see you back here tomorrow, live at 9, for the continuance of our daily show. That's it.